All right. What's up, Josh? Number two.
What's up, Josh? Number one.
That's right. Number one. Dude, how crazy I was when we decided we were gonna do this, I was thinking like, last March, the country just shut down and because the whole COVID and then all of a sudden we were all getting ready to do this whole madness bracket tournament that we did that took us all the way into like deep summer.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that was insane. It wasn't supposed to last that long, but we found it super hard to get everybody on the same page in regards to like trying to schedule. I remember when you got frustrated with it, and it was totally understandable, man. It's like every time we turned around, it was like, oh, I can't do that day. I can't do this day. I can't do that time. Can I fish in the morning? Hey, can I fish like 2 hours offset? And I'm like, good Lord, man. Like, it got to be a headache. Like the whole thought process behind it was pretty cool, but the way it got executed and the way it went down and having, 14 of us involved with it.
Yeah. It took forever. It took forever.
But, and it didn't help then too that Doodoo, aka our dude Dustin Nichols, he ended up like all messed up with work. They did like a changeover or something. So his hours, he was working like really crazy hours, and I don't even think he barely fished for like almost 3 weeks to a month, and then he got COVID. And
yeah, we tried though. We gave it hell.
It was fun though. I mean, I had a blast.
It was fun. The initial part was fun, like me and the Milford battle and the shit talking and when I finally like beat his ass like really bad.
And then I turned around and beat your ass.
Yeah, but this one beat your ass. Then I made it to the finals and got beat by Susie and Sam Jones. So I made it further than you. So I don't know how that works. I don't know if that makes me a better angler than you. It just means that I went further than you went in a bracket tournament. So
yeah,
do what you want with that little piece, that little nugget. All right.
Sometimes losers prosper. I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
What a fun year though, right?
Yeah, man, it was garbage. Hot garbage. That's what I said last time, man.
Yeah, well, this year, I don't know. I've been playing it easy. I hadn't even started fishing yet, which like haven't gone down south or anything. I don't even have a boat right now. Like I'm pretty miserable now that I think about it. Then I bring it. I don't have a boat.
Yeah,
it's still cold outside, but it's also this weird phase where like the snow's starting to melt. It's like some days it's like 40 degrees, and some days it's like 9. It's just like that weird fluctuation. You're like, okay, we're getting through this. 2-3 weeks from now, there's going to be some open water. And I can get back on there, but I'm like, no, you can't. You don't even have a boat right now. And it's just like I'm so ready. Like I get nauseous just thinking about. Like I'm ready to go fishing. I really am.
You just jinxed yourself, dude. So if you learned anything, that the month of March usually has one little trick left, usually, and especially because you guys get lake effect snow up there, right?
Yeah.
So I hope it doesn't dump a foot of snow on you. But dude, I sold my kayaks last year. Yeah, as you know, I went through a divorce this year, man. And when I moved out, I had to get rid of a lot of stuff. And it was crazy, dude. It was like, I think the last time I fished was October. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, I would say like mid-October for me. Like that's when hunting season started.
Yeah. But yeah, I got rid of the kayaks. My buddy Mike let me borrow his Kusa HD a couple weeks ago, but with work and stuff, man, I've been so busy. I think I've got 55 hours right now at work, and I got to go in tomorrow morning again. So,
yeah.
But it's been crazy. But it's about to start up. I'm pretty excited. So,
Yeah, I mean, like you guys got open water right now. I see like Kurt Smith. He fishes in Ohio pretty much year round.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I had the gear too. I have a dry suit too. I mean, I'm not Big Bird, but I am basically the Cookie Monster. I have a blue and black one. So
it's not that it's like look, if you get the dry suit, wear it, protect yourself. Just don't take a picture with a stupid smile and expect that I'm not going to say something. When you're wearing a yellow outfit and you're smiling like you're doing something special, it's like, what do you want me to do? I wake up, the first thing I see in the morning is Brad Hicks wearing a Big Bird outfit. I mean, come on, dude. Like, I know they're safe. I'm not trying to tell people not to be safe on the water. Like, I don't want people to freeze to death. But goddamn it, I got to make fun of someone who, like, there was no shame. Like, that's like one of those things you wear, but you don't tell anyone. You know what I mean? It's like you wear it, you do what you got to do. But when you get out of the boat, you take it off. Maybe you break it down to like just half of it's, half the bottom half's on, and the rest is hanging out, and you got some sick ass shirt with like skulls or Motley Crue or something like that. You know, like something cool. You know, but he's like, no, I'm just gonna wear this Big Bird suit with this crazy looking beanie and his goofy Brad Hicks smile.
He, you know what's funny about that dry suit is when I ordered it, I was the one that ordered black and yellow, and I picked blue and black for him because he didn't tell me what color. He's like, whatever, man. And I'm like, all right. And I got it. And I was like, I freaking hate this thing, dude. And I was like, hey, you're a Pittsburgh fan, right? You want this? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, good.
I mean, like they're great. There's got to be something cooler than that. You know what I mean? Like, come on, there's got to be something cooler. Like a wetsuit, like a tight fitting. I mean, great. Like some people can't wear tight fitting. I'm a little more jacked than most people, so I can wear a tight fitting, like wetsuit type thing. I can't get into those like those dry suits. There's got to be some better ones out there.
Yeah. Is that you got sirens in the background or me?
I think it's
I
you.
don't know. It's probably me, dude. Like I live near the fire department, and it literally sounds like the apocalypse every night. So, dude. So when the whole dry suit thing, we got them through Loveland last year, and I had some trouble picking them out, man, because I'm like, these things are pretty hideous. And it's funny because a lot of the Ohio guys that we know actually wear them under coats, like and stuff like that. They might have the pants visible, but for the most part.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's brands out there that have something that looks a little bit better, but the NRS stuff really stands out. I think they do it on purpose too, to be visible. Is kind of the meaning behind it. Cause I mean, some of them have reflective tape on them. Like it's kind of funny, but I'm laughing because
2000. Go ahead.
Justin, his buddy Justin's got the green one, so they're calling
green
him
one, the Grouch.
Yeah, the Grouch. And I was like, if I go with him one of these days, they're gonna have the whole Sesame Street cast out there.
Well, it's 2021. It's like we live in the age of where like your whole life is online. People see you, like rule number one. And I tried my hardest, to preach this to Brad Hicks. Jay, dude, just if you follow this rule, you'll never go wrong in life, no matter what. No matter what happens to you, always look cool. Always,
right.
No matter what. If you're lost, look cool. If you whatever bad thing you're going through in life, look cool. And he does not understand that concept. He puts on that Big Bird suit and he smiles away and I know, look cool. So create an outfit that looks cool. That when I post on Instagram, there's not another Hessian Josh Smith somewhere waiting in the pits of to jump on me for wearing an outfit. I mean, you can't do that these days and age.
That's the thing about Brad. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. He loves it, dude. He's like, somebody's talking about me. So,
yeah. Well, shit. Are you? You decided what you're gonna get? I know we talked about it before. Like, you're one of those Kilroy guys. Like, right? Is that what you're looking to get?
Yeah, I'm going to do the Kilroy HD again this year, and hopefully, eventually, pick up another big rig FD. I'm going to pedal drive. I love that Kilroy HD for the river, man. It's great. It's a fast boat. It's super stable. It's like 36 inches wide. And then being a fact that you're standing basically on the water as a, somewhat slightly submerged where your feet are level, underneath the water level, it makes it even more stable than like probably the Coos HD was. Because the Coos HD is what I had in the river before. And that boat was awesome. It's really, really maneuverable. The one gripe that I had about it was that it got moved by wind real easy, but in a river that usually doesn't make too much of a difference. Sometimes it does if it gets high enough, but the HD is bad because I like it. It's badass because I can put Zachary in it with me and Colin, and I can put a second seat in there and take the kids out in it.
Yeah. Well, like the thing I have about I couldn't imagine doing like a river float or whatever without pedals, like you know what I mean, like this. I don't know how you guys fish rivers, but like the river I have here, it's probably nothing like your river. I don't know if you guys just like pull off to the side and just fish, the seams or whatever. I don't know how you guys do it, but it just feels like it's like an awkward way to fish, without pedals, like going back up, because I don't know how you guys plan your trips, but I mean, it's just like getting back and forth and staying on the spot and graphing and all the different things that you can do. Depending, like, great, I fish probably deeper rivers than what you fish. Because like my rivers here, they're all rivers that lead into the Great Lake, so they're coming from all over the state, and they're just big, massive amounts of water, and not necessarily moving that fast either. But like they're But they're big. They're almost they're big bodies. Big. Oh no, they're pretty big rivers compared to like the little skinny waters that a lot of people fish. Now, granted, it's not like the Mississippi River or some shit like that, but it's just a lot. There's a lot of water moving through those things, and I just couldn't imagine doing like even the ones here that I fish. It's just like maybe this would suck. When it moving and not having pedals, like just trying to do all the things that you want to do.
Yeah, with our rivers, the rivers that like Brad and I fish here locally would be probably considered like creeks in some places. They're pretty small. The Great Miami is the bigger one locally, and it's still really not that big. It widens out because it starts at Indian Lake, kind of up in like a farming area, and it makes its way down. And when it makes its way through some of the more populated areas, it tends to widen out, just from industrial like sites and that sort of thing. And then some feeder creeks, and then it'll get skinnier again, and then it'll widen out and get skinnier again. And it's been kind of crazy because the past few years, some of the more urban areas have been some of our better fishing areas, because I think they were sort of untouched for a long time, and the pressure's not as great. And so they can be a little bit easier to fish sometimes because you can get next to a seam and not be, manipulated by the current. So you can kind of sit still, or you might actually be kind of flowing back upstream, with the eddy or something like that. But there's plenty of shallow areas. Like when you and I fished against each other, I was fishing the Great Miami River, and I was sitting in like a foot of water with my foot out the boat half the time, just holding myself in position. And I was fishing a big eddy, which is like 20 feet deep in the center of it, but it circles around, and in the area around that central like 20-foot deep hole, it's maybe like 10 feet. It's like, and the area that I was fishing was like a spawning area. So they were getting ready to I can't remember if they were done spawning or not at that time. I can't remember what time of year it was.
It had to be close because mine were spawning when we went against each other. So
yeah, so they might have been in the tail end of it, or just they were in it. But that area that they usually kind of spawn in was fairly low because I don't think it rained very much last spring, so we didn't have the river blowout like we normally do in the spring. So, there's times though, man, like you get in a current seam and you swing out of it and try to catch a rock with the foot and hold on and fish it. But for the most part, mainly we try to get out of that current line and fish right next to it and anchor up or whatever. So it's I've wanted to try a pedal drive out in in our rivers around here. It's just a lot of the places that I fish tend to be really shallow, and I have kind of a fear of trashing a drive unit out there. So,
right. Well, isn't that kind of what like the original like the Kuso was kind of meant to be? It was kind of like a small like skinny water type vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah. What makes you want to pick the sit in instead of the well, I guess you said earlier, kind of like, I guess, stability, but I don't know. I had a Kusa. Let me ask you this: Are the Kusas different, like between the FD, the HD? Because like I don't know, like when I ended up losing like a seat, like I broke my Kusa H or whatever FD seat, and I ordered a new one. They sent me another Kusa seat that didn't fit, and I tried to do a little bit of research. I was like, "What? That doesn't make any sense. Like, how many Kusas are there?" But I guess there's a lot, like whatever. But like the Kusa that I had didn't like I don't know why it was considered a riverboat, because it seemed like it was just like an old town almost, like a like a 120 or something like that. Like it seemed like the most like almost identical boat. I didn't really know what made it a riverboat. Granted, it sucked on the big water because it was so small and not as that's kind of where you want like a big rig or something. But I really didn't know what made it like a river boat.
Yeah, you had it. Are you talking about you having the FD version?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jackson has 3 variations to the Kusa: the original Kusa, the Kusa HD, and a Kusa FD. The Kusa FD, I wouldn't really classify it as a good river boat by any means. It's better in open water. It's a heavy boat because it's a pedal drive, but then that thing is actually a little hard to maneuver, in my opinion. It's hard to paddle that boat. I can paddle the big rig FD better than I can the other one. I think that just has to do with the hull design. The hull design actually of the FD version, what you had, versus like what the Kusa HD was, which was kind of just the beefed up model. after the original Kusa. That was a riverboat, and that was Drew Gregory's signature. And I think they just kind of held on to the name and put the foot drive or whatever you want to call it. And but I think I took it. Yeah, I took the Kusa FD to Dale Hollow the year before last year, and I liked it. Was okay. It was good. It's a decently quick boat, but I had the old drive in it with the 3-blade prop, so it was much slower than what it could actually do. I didn't mind it though. But I mean, really, I think that the Kusa FD is more relatable to what the big rig FD is. I don't think I wouldn't be a fan of putting the Kusa FD in the river unless it's something that you're talking about where you've got deep, slower moving rivers, that sort of thing. But in a kind of a quick water situation, I wouldn't recommend it. I like paddling the rivers, so that's kind of what I started out doing.
Like your river kind of sounds similar to like what I guess the Susky is. Like I was sitting there thinking about like the Susky because I was gonna go down there and fish it this year for the Hobie event, but I kind of decided I want to fish it because I don't know how to fish that kind of water. I'm not going to spend $260 to learn how to fish a new style of water. But same thing. It's like just kind of like there are a few deep areas, but a lot of shallow water, and a lot of times it's like you're going to spend a lot of your time dragging your kayak. More than you would be like pedaling, and then constantly having to, switch that, back and forth just doesn't really seem like it'd be worth it either. I mean, it's like, I don't know, I guess it kind of makes sense. I mean, I still understand the whole sit-in thing. But to each their own.
I mean,
that's for the kids and stuff. I definitely see where that's like an advantage. Cause I mean, it's safety wise.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you though, the original, there's 2 versions of the Kilroy. I don't even think that they make the regular Kilroy anymore. And that was more of a sit inside where it was a little bit more like you're actually down in it.
Right.
The Kilroy HD though is more of a sit on top with the body of a sit inside kayak.
That's right.
I mean, I sit probably higher in that boat than I did in the Kusa HD when I had that. So it's
I forgot they upgraded, they remodeled it because they had one. Justin Hosner, I think they were supposed to give away one, and it looked a lot different than like the one that I'm thinking of. So I think I'm misthinking like what the Kilroy is now.
Yeah, it's much bigger. I mean, the thing is like 13 feet long. It's 36 inches wide. It's not a kayak that you throw up on the shoulder and walk down the river. Like it's pretty heavy. So.
Well, that's Jackson's thing. That's one of the reasons why I switched from Jackson to Old Town. Because I knew I needed to get out of like the Kusa. Just after I flipped it that one time, and just the pain in the ass it is to move a Jackson kayak. I don't know why Jackson feels the need to make their kayaks heavy, but they are. I mean, they're just heavier than the other kayaks that I've messed around with. But that was one of the deciding factors. I know I needed a bigger boat. But the big rig was heavy as shit. Like I mean, it's a heavy boat. No, it's a good boat, and it moves pretty good for a big boat. But it's heavy. And what I found, when I went with Old Town, the Big Water, which is another like 13 foot boat, was that it was like considerably lighter, and the ability to remove like the pedal drive and things like that were a lot easier. And so that was like one of the big reasons. I don't know why Jackson makes their kayaks like so like lighter just seems like it'd be like a better way to go. Because I mean, we're all getting older and trying to put this kayak on top of like the person who's buying my kayak. They're like, like she asked like, what do you have like to move it? She's like, oh, I have my whatever, a Ford Focus or some shit like that. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's gonna be a pain in the ass to get your get that kayak up on top of that. It's heavy. Yeah. It's not like she had another kayak before, but you could pick up and just put on there. You can't do this with a Jackson kayak. They make them so heavy. I don't know if it's because of the mold or what, but they're just heavy kayak or heavy boats.
Well, and those series, man, they're really built for stability. So there's a lot of plastic. And if I remember correctly, the Kusa, the FD series have aluminum gear tracks. That drive is super heavy.
Super heavy.
And and the seats are too. Like it is what it is. I mean, Hobie makes a really heavy boat too. The pro anglers are not light. I've watched some guys fish them in the river, and a few of my friends have them. and one of them has a Pro Angler 12, dude, and he always complains about how bad that thing is to get out of the water and get back up in this truck, you know. And that's why you see some of these guys with pedal drives or tournament guys, they just eventually say, screw it, dude, it's too much strain, it takes too much time, and I'm just gonna buy a trailer and launch this thing like a boat, you know. I mean, that's what I did. I had a trailer from previous when I bought my Kusa HD, and I bought the X a Cruise 10, and her boat I could pick up like and carry that thing no problem by myself. But it is it was like a little kind of like a little wide recreational kind of kayak. It was stable enough for her to stand in, but it was only like 10 feet long, so wasn't something. It was a good little river kayak. So, but I had bought the Malone trailer, and I had it on I had two sets of J cradles, and it had the risers, and I was like, well, I've got this big rig FD, and I kind of tore the trailer apart and put some PVC bunks on it and did the same thing, because those pedal drives are just so heavy, man. Like any of them are, really. I mean, even Old Town, I mean, that's on the heavier side. It may not be as heavy as some of them, but maybe it's the density of the plastic. I have really no idea, like what puts that much weight versus, you're saying you got the big water, that's a fairly big kayak, so.
No, it's definitely bigger than the one I was in, which I need. I need a bigger kayak because, I fish bigger waters. I fish, the big lakes and stuff up here. And like I said, after I flipped my kayak that once, I'm like, okay, I can't mess around with this anymore. Like I knew I needed a big rig when after the first year I had the Kusa, I knew I needed like something like a big rig. I'm like it's just, I mean, I'm not saying obviously I got around pretty good in the Kusa, but it was just like, it just wasn't, it didn't maneuver right. And then when the water got rough, it was just like, it was very sketchy. You had to like really focus on what you were doing. And so I knew I needed something bigger, but I picked I think the biggest reason was like the ability to take out the pedal drive, and like the Old Town just seemed a lot easier than what it was. So I'll tell you, I did like the concept behind like the Jackson pedal drive, like that, especially when you're moving and it hits something and it comes up. The way it came up was just like, oh, that's clutch. But it's just like taking it out, taking it in. I mean, it was a lot of work to move that thing in and out, and lots of I just didn't bother with it. But I don't know. I mean, both kayaks were good. It was just like little subtle differences. I think like when you start doing the sport long enough, like there's like just little subtle things that you want, and I was running out of things that I liked about Jackson, and so I had to like kind of like go out. And I mean, like it wasn't like I just fell into an Old Town. Like I looked at the Hobies first. I mean, I was like, I was very close to pulling the trigger on the 360. And then I realized, like, dude, you're not balling, dude. You can't just go out there and buy a new Hobie and
sure you can.
Like, nah, dude. Like I was very close. I was talking to a the one of the outlets at whatever the stores out here that has them, and I was like, he had me sold on a demo. It was probably about like $500-800 cheaper. I'm like, all right, I'm getting this, and I'm like, stop, like it's gonna take you forever to pay that thing off. So, but I just ended up in the Old Town. It was just it was a little bit lighter. I think that the big water is a lot like the Predator, and it moves really, really well for a big boat. And I think that's another thing I had a problem with Jackson. I know I heard the big rig moves pretty good, but like I've heard like the Predators, like it's unbelievable how fast that boat moves for a big boat.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll see Jackson make some improvements in regards to the design of the drive system to make it more smooth and make it more reliable. I did buy one of the things that I did when I had mine, because I had an older one that I bought from a buddy of mine, and he it had the original rudder system in it, not even the upgraded one, the orange one. So I bought a Boondocks one, which was like severely overpriced, but dude, it was a night and day difference how easier I could turn. Like the thing that I kept noticing on the old rudder system was you had to get a little bit of speed to keep, get going and then make your turn. You couldn't like pedal into the turn immediately. It wouldn't turn. And as soon as I upgraded that rudder, it would go, if I cranked it left and I started pedaling, I started moving left. The old big rig rudder didn't do that at all. So.
I mean, I stuck with that. I had that kayak for almost 3 years, and each year, because my it kept breaking on me. I would get the new one. Because that's one
Yeah.
thing that Jackson's really good about. Like their customer service, like they're pretty on point. And if something goes wrong, they'll replace the. And they did. Like I have two other pedal drives in my garage that haven't been in a boat in a while that Russell Johnson wants to buy. But it's still, it's just like, like each one was different. Whether it was the rudders that were different, or whatever. And the last one I finally got was like, all right, this is a lot better than the first two. So they've always been trying to like kind of improve those. Improve that thing. I mean, it's a work in progress, and maybe they got it right. I mean, like I said, I didn't really have much problems with it, like except for what you're talking about, like the you kind of had to get it going to really get like the good like maneuverability out of it. But I don't know. I mean, they're kayaks. I mean, like you got to figure out what you like, what you want out of one. And I've never really been big on sticking to a brand because neither one of the brands really give a shit about me. Like there's not they pay my bills or they sponsor me, anything like that. So it's kind of like I really had that flexibility because I haven't like stuck my flag up and said I'm a Jackson guy or I'm an Old Town guy. I can kind of mess around and find out like the things I like about certain kayaks, and it's just little subtle differences. It's not even like big. Like the things I don't like, or the things I like about Old Town, or like not even Old Town, like just the Old Town Big Water, like doesn't make the Jackson kayak big because there's a lot of guys who love the Jackson kayaks, who love the a lot of guys who swear by that big rig, the stability of it, the ability to stand and fish from a really good stable platform. I mean, it's just really getting out there and like trying to figure out like what kind of angle you are, like what do you want to do, what things are important to you, and and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest thing. You and I had a discussion about this. Like the more you get involved in doing the podcast and getting into the community and kind of engaging on the social media aspect and you join all these groups and you always see, hey, what do you guys recommend for a guy who's 6'2", 250, whatever, and there's a ton of kayaks out there. And every one of those pedal drive kayaks is built with stability in mind, usually, and they can take a good amount of weight, as far as their weight capacities. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you, dude, because I have no idea what you're going to like, what you're looking for specifically. Yeah. I mean, overall, in a general thing, like, yeah, probably any of these kayaks you're going to like at first. It's when you get more involved in the fishing aspect of it and you sit down and you spend some time in these kayaks, you might find the nuances that you don't necessarily like, and then there might be some stuff that you like. So I always recommend anybody. I'm not one to be like, oh yeah, you need to get a Jackson Coosa HD. I always tell them, go demo, man. Base it off what you can afford,
Right.
Get
what
in.
Bodies of water do you fish a lot out of? Like,
I mean, if you're gonna fish rivers,
it's stuff you got to think about. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed when I was fishing was like I really loved the my Coosa. I really loved it the first year, and then like halfway through the second year, I'm like, the storage space was it's not horrible, but there wasn't like the kind of storage space I want, like, especially when you look at like another boat that has a different setup. You're like, I like that setup. I mean, like the way look, it's just a kayak, like the fish from, like, it's not like that had like, it's not that I like fishing out of a Coosa more than I like fishing out of this one, or like whatever I can fish out of, it's the other things, whether it's the turning knob, the turn, the rudder, or the how I can storage tackle, where I can storage tackle is in a place that's, maybe I just want to be able to reach somewhere and grab something. Maybe I don't want to, like all these things that you think about that, that I think that I find out that were a little bit more important to me than whatever. Like I can stand up on any of these kayaks and catch lure from it. You know what I mean? Like I can get from point A to point B in any one of them. It's just those little subtle differences, like the space, to be able to turn, and maybe I like to fish the flats, and like I like to be able to turn fast, or whatever it is I like to do. That's the stuff that's going to take a while to figure out. Like if someone's asked me like what kind to get, I'm like, well, just get whatever one you can, but because it's not going to be the one you want until like months and months, or maybe even a year of fishing, that you realize this is what's important to me, and this is what this one has. Because they're not like, not all kayaks are the same.
Right.
Even kayaks within the same brand, like they're a little bit different. As far as like the storage, the space, the amount of space you have, the whatever all the systems and little gadgets on it. Like one of the things I love about the Old Town that I'm getting is it has the transducer thing already, whatever for it. Jackson didn't have that, and now that I'm getting into all I'm becoming an electronic nerd. That's a little important to me. 'Cause I don't like having to go to Yak Attack and get the new mount or whatever it is I got to do. It's just things like that kind of like you're never going to know until after you really get into the sport.
Right, right. And it's cool to see like each company's got their own kind of little nuances with their boats that they make improvements on. Like, Hobie's got that same type of like transducer, and they have a way that, it can deploy a little further down for your side scan. That
Right.
like Jackson has a scupper hole that is built for that, but it only works with down imaging. It doesn't work very well with side imaging. So it'd be cool to see Jackson come up with a new system to where you can have that inside, because I did the same thing. I have, the Switchblade, arm from Yak Attack, and I had the aluminum one before that, and I couldn't stand that thing. It just moved all the time. I'd have to tighten it down, and then it's get loose again and tighten it down. And then I was like, all right, the Switchblade seems like a better option. It works better, but I still have to, pull it up out of the way and bolt it over on the side. And it's kind of obnoxious. It's pretty cool to see the companies like Old Town and Hobie recognize that and build, a mechanism that's able to, work with anglers like that, and they don't have to mess around with that stuff. So,
well, Jackson's been kind of like stalling like the last 2 years, haven't they? As far as like putting out something, because I was asking Justin, because I was trying to decide what I wanted to do this year about a kayak. I was like, dude, what's Jackson's changing? Because I was looking at getting a big rig possibly. He's like, they're not changing anything this year, but he said like the next year there should be like something different. I'm really curious, like what Jackson, because there's only so much they can do. Like, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna put the transducer mount on there? Are they gonna put the whatever? Are they finally getting rid of that weird E drive and going to go with like a spot lock thing type setup? And then who knows what Jackson? I mean, Jackson's kind of just haven't really. I don't know if it's because of the whole COVID thing. They just haven't really done much this whatever for this season, like going into it. Like not compared, like not like when you compare it to like what all the new things that's like New Canoe's doing and Old Town doing and Hobie's doing. Like it's like the last 2 years with those three companies, it's just been like phenomenal, like shit, like just cutting edge stuff. And I'm curious, like what Jack. I know Jackson's not just being lazy. I know obviously they're a big company and they're coming up with something. I don't know if they just ran out of ideas or if they're just testing to see what the market was going to do, or maybe COVID just came in and stole everyone's thunder or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
But, I'm really curious, like what's going to be next. I mean, I know they tried, like they came out with that E drive, which I thought was kind of unique because I thought they were kind of the first ones to really come up with their own like motor, like not having to go outside and buy like a torpedo or a motor guide. Like it was like something that was like within the Jackson thing, kind of like how Old Town did like their motor, like their spot lock and everything. So they're always like there's people over there like with the gears turning. I'm just curious, like I wonder what they're gonna do next, because they got to do something because everyone else is doing something.
Right. Well, like Old Town's been partnered up with Minn Kota for a long time, actually, because that was the first kayak I ever saw with a motor in it, and that was when I first started, 6-7 years ago, getting into the whole kayak scene. They were making the. I remember seeing it like Cabela's or Bass Pro. They had the Predator Minn Kota version, and I think what kind of happened with Jackson was they released that foot drive. They had a ton of problems with it, obviously, and it's well known throughout the industry. And instead of probably being able to progress forward, they ended up having to fall back and fix that first. But one of the things that I think that Jackson stands kind of above a lot of the other companies, which makes them unique, is they have so many models, and they're also in the whitewater game and the recreation and touring game. And, I mean, you go on their site, dude, it's just models after models of kayaks. And, they seem to be more into building a new kayak as opposed to, I don't want to say they don't improve. They do make improvements. I just don't see them as drastic as what. But I mean, if you think about it, though, it was just a big rig, and then they put the pedal drive, and they made a big rig HD FD where you could remove the pod, and put the FD drive and that sort of thing. But I don't know. It's like you said, they're probably working on something. I know that when you see these new features that come out on these kayaks, it takes years of R&D a lot of times. Like the Hobie 360 drive, that's probably been in the making for years. Like, in that Hobie drive, I know took a long time to develop.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you've seen it. They went from the regular standard, they had a 180, and then they added kick up fins and that sort of thing. So, I'm pretty sure that Jackson's got some stuff up their sleeve, and they're working on some new stuff, and we'll see.
What do you think is gonna be like the next thing for kayaks? I asked someone about that. Like, they're already everyone's going crazy about motors. New Canoe, they got the thing with Motor Guide. Old Town's doing what Old Town's doing. I don't know. Hobie's just going to keep improving the 360. I mean, eventually that thing's just going to fly. But I wonder like what like the new thing, like what we're going to do, for kayaks. Because I mean, like, even like Jackson, they or whoever, they came out with the blue sky, the sky. What is that thing? What is that pontoon looking boat?
Yeah, you're right. The blue sky.
The blue sky. Like. Yeah, that was an idea, but I wonder like what they're really going to focus on now. And my opinion is I think it's going to go more towards electronics in the future, and maybe the electronics and maybe the battery, like those kind of setups. They're going to come with kind of with the kayak, because what everyone right now is they're like a fish finder, like a single one. It's just not enough. I was watching I think it was Casey Reed and Cody Milton. They both had like 2 or 3 different monitors on their boat, like, you know what I mean, like right there in front of them. One that was strictly just for side view, the other one for like down view and whatever. It's just like that's kind of where I see it. Like, and when I look at that, like, well, that's gonna have to maybe increase size of the boat, storage of the boat, possibly, because now you're looking for a place that's gonna be specifically built for battery, the most efficient way to storage batteries or power and things like that. So I wonder, like, maybe something like that's probably gonna be like the next big thing, is building kayaks that are already built to have like those kind of setups on. Because right now everyone's just kind of using like their ingenuity and like just putting things together and figuring out how to make it work. But eventually I imagine that a kayak's gonna actually be specifically built like for like that kind of the kind of stuff that people want to do now, because a lot of stuff is going towards the offshore fishing now. A lot of people are getting into it. A lot of people, that's why the spot lock, and that's why New Canoe is doing so well, because they have the ability to put like that, to stay in those locations and allow people to actually to fish that way. And I think that's just kind of like where kayaks will eventually go to.
Yeah, I mean, you see kind of the game with solo skiffs, right? I mean, it's just like a hybrid of a boat and a kayak in a sense, and it's a little bit bigger. Those things are sweet looking, man. I'd love to have one of those, like, just in general, because it's like you can almost walk all over that entire thing. You walk to the back if you want, to the front, and I don't know how much crazier you could get besides like stuff like Jackson and Blue Sky making that pontoon, kind of style. But I think, and you kind of saw somebody dabble in this, and it was with the Ascend when they partnered up with Yak Power, and they had it all wired up already, and it was just basically plug and play. And I'd like to see some more of that. It gets to be not frustrating, but a little tedious if you are into kayaks and you're switching kayaks or something like that, and you're like, oh man, now I gotta move everything around, and
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing that I have. Like, people love it. They love to rig their new kayak, whatever they call it. Like, you gotta get in there and do it. Like, I hate that. I hate like when I had to you gotta like start drilling through your kayak again. You gotta start rigging it, just get it all down right and get it ready, get the way you want it. I'm like, no, I want a kayak to come to me ready for all that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to buy tons of stuff from Yak Attack. I don't want to buy, whatever batteries from Dakota or Amp or whatever. I don't want to figure out ways to do it. I want to buy a kayak that's built, that's almost perfect. You know what I mean? I don't want to, it seems like that's what a lot of, like, when you look at all the other like industries, whether it be like trucks and cars and whatever, that's kind of what you want in those two. You want to already have the bells and whistles. I don't want to put those things in there. It's just, for me, like, I know a lot of guys enjoy it. They love to go out there and customize their kayaks. I'm not that kind of guy. I want it to be like, when I get it, I want to be able to hit play and go.
Maybe that's what we could see in the future, is like certain packages, like just like you're talking about with the truck, you got different trims, and you could be like, all right, these are the options I want. and that boat comes set and ready to go,
Right.
maybe that's something you would possibly see. And in a way, you are kind of seeing the kayak industry start moving in that direction because,
Yeah.
there's if it's, I think it's New Canoe, you have the option to just get one that's paddle, you get one that's a pedal drive, or it's got the motor already in it, that sort of thing. And so, and it's not really actually that new, dude, when you think about it, because the company Feel Free was one of the first companies that I'd seen that had the ability in their kayak straight up right away. I mean, when me and my buddy got involved in this, he had a Feel Free, and he was able to he had a pod that was removable, and he could have, and this is 7 years ago, he could have put a foot drive in it. And then also they built a small motor that popped in there too. And then he was motorized at that point. So, maybe we'll start seeing more of that across the board, like a bunch of different options. I mean, you got it with Old Town now. So you might see Jackson's doing it with the E-Drive, but maybe what we'll just see is improvements upon those platforms, like improving the E-Drive, or, who knows, man. The whole thing with you were mentioning fish finders and that sort of thing, dude, that's it. I envy those guys that are rolling around with two of them, because I have shitty eyesight, right? So like my 7-inch screen, dude, I'm sitting there trying to look at side view, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Is that a water spot, or is that a rock?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so like my buddy, mine, Brandon, he's got 2 9s, I think, in his kayak now, and it's you obviously see it's super beneficial to be able to have a bigger display on, each, whether it's down vision and side view, and, what, if you've got a map or what. But I don't know, maybe we'll start seeing like 20-inch, 25-inch screens on them sooner or later, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like you gotta have the setup. Like right now, like what I'm seeing, like it just works. You know what I mean? Like, but like it could be better. Like to be able to have a setup. Like right now, like even with just my I got a 7-inch or 9-inch. I think I have a 9. Whatever. I have what I have. But like I got to be careful. I got to make sure that I know where it's at. It can be in the way sometimes.
Yeah.
Like it could take a a half ounce weight to it at some time. I mean, just whatever. And like I was thinking, like imagine like if you had a kayak that was not built around it, but that had something built into it, where those things that was meant for. Like it's not just a railing system and you just put it where you want to put it, but like a setup for it. I mean, just things like that I just see, like, because I mean, like, right now, like these guys with these 2 or 3 screens, I'm like, I don't even know how they do it. I'm like, it's like Jesus. Like I mean, like the root, like the space, I mean, you only got like 2, maybe 4 tracks up there in the front, depending on what model you have, what boat you have, and whether you got like a lot of these guys, they can't do pedal drives anymore because that's where their screens and stuff are now. And maybe that's why a lot of guys left the pedal drive and went into the new canoes, because the new canoe kind of gives you that ability,
right,
to do those like little custom things that a lot of those guys are doing. I don't know. I haven't played. I didn't even like bothered with it. Like I'm like a generation or 2 behind. Like I'm still I got my little screen like that'll do for now. I'm not ready to put the pin optics on there. Let me get good at this stuff, and then I'll start messing around with the big guy stuff, because I mean that's just a whole world I'm not ready for.
Yeah, I think you touched on this just a second ago, but I'd like to see some better mounting options also for like fish finders.
Like the mounting options,
it's real shaky and wobbly, and that's one thing we've been talking with John at Yak Gadget. I've been like, hey, John, you should try building a fish finder mount that's stable, man. I was like, and even with the Yak Attack lock and load system, it still wobbles, man. It's still got play in it. And I think part of that also has to do with the way these mounting rails are put in. It's usually just 4 little screws, or even maybe 1 or 2. And it's just like, you got to think you're putting a piece of little metal gear track into plastic, and then you're attaching a pretty heavy piece of electronics to it. It's going to flex, and it's probably going to flex those those screws and those bolts that are holding those gear tracks to the plastic. I mean, it's plastic, for God's sake.
And that's in the midst like the different, like, from the, like the air temp going from cool to hot to cool to hot.
Yeah.
Change, and it just, I don't know. I always worry about it. And I just think there could be something better. And that's what I was thinking about. The future, in future kayaks, you'll see like just things in there that are built better and specifically for like your fish finders, or a place to store your batteries. Because right now people are storing their batteries wherever. I think like the guys in the new canoe, they usually keep them under their seats. Whatever. Like, I know like the batteries are good, and a lot of them are like really good waterproof. But like we all want things to be like just more efficient. I just see it becoming like I would like to see things become like a little bit more efficient for like where we can place the monitors or mount the monitors, where the batteries can go, and things like that. Because I know like the Jackson, you got to be pretty creative, like what you want to do with the batteries. Like whatever. Like I had to like drill a few different ways to get the get the transistor cables and the power cables, and I had to drill through one thing and drill through that little plate in the front hole to go through there. Just all these little things. It's like it'd be easier if there was already something in place. That where I didn't have to go do all this drilling, or I didn't have to do all this figuring out. You already had it figured out for me, because we know that the future of the sport is a lot more. I see a lot more like there's gonna be a lot more electronics. Like people want the Panoptics. They want the ability to have bigger screens that have different things to offer. And that's where the sport's going, I think, especially with like where the motors are now. I think the electronics are going to catch up with it.
Yeah, and I think you're starting to see some of that. I know Jackson in the big rig has some through the whole wiring spots where they didn't before. And that was something I think that was new on last year's model. And I think what's going to end up happening is just the more popularity that is, gained in the industry, especially with the fishing industry, that there will be more and more of these little things that'll be improved upon in the boat, like the through the wall wiring kits. Hopefully, maybe like we were talking about, an area to mount those fish finders and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's as long as those companies are still willing to always talk to their anglers, their pro staffs, and that sort of thing, you'll see that keep happening. If you just think about it, where it was at, 10 years ago versus where it is now, it's completely different. So,
yeah. Well, cool, man. I think we talked a lot about that. What about the paddle and fin? I know you guys got the trail series coming up. The paddle and fin battle at Clash of the Clubs, I think is what it's called.
Yeah. Oh well, we got a trail series, and the first one's going to be at Dale Hollow. And let me bring up some information. If I remember correctly, it's the weekend of April 19th, and it is the 19th, 20th, and 21st, if I remember correctly. But
you got
so
two,
there's
you
actually
got 2 events in April, right? I think it's April 11th and 19th, maybe.
Yeah, let me bring it up real quick. Sorry. I've been looking at that thing so crazy, dude. Like I've been looking at the whole thing as a whole, trying to figure out what I can make and where I can be to help kind of not run it, but you know what I mean, help with the video stuff. But the Dale Hollow Open is going to be, in a sense, 2 events. It's going to be a open, which is Friday and Saturday, and then there's going to be something called the Clash of Clubs, which is the 21st, and that's where we have the top 3 from any of the grassroots kayak fishing clubs that are out there across the nation. So I'm sorry, not 19th. All right, April 9th and 10th is the open event. That's just the individual ones, the individual tournament. And then on the 11th is the Clash of Clubs. So when we say grassroots clubs, we're not talking like a Hobie team or like a Old Town. We want the grassroots clubs, like in Ohio, we have CKF, BKFT, in that sort of BKFT. I think that's right. Anyways, that's what we're looking for. In a sense, we don't want the company teams. In a sense, we want to get those clubs that it's sort of like, do you remember the one that Brian did last year, or they did? I can't remember the name of it. It's the one that was in the Midwest, and they had the Michigan teams up there and that sort of thing. Yeah. So And entry fee for the open event is $100. And then the entry fee for the Clash of Clubs is $225 per team. I think that works out to be 75 per person, dude. And our payout scales are really nice, man. We got a lot of good sponsorship backing us up to be able to increase these. I think, we're going to be giving away, or the winners are going to be getting 3 kayaks. So it's pretty awesome, man. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. It's down in Dale Hollow. And we were working with Eastport Marina, which is where we went last year I want to say it was in October. And we stayed down there and did our meetup, the paddle and fin meetup down there. They took care of us, man. And we toyed around with the idea about doing this with Richard, and he was all on board. And so, yeah, it's going to be fun, man. It's a cool Midwest series.
You say Midwest, though, but Tennessee's not Midwest.
I know. That's what I was asking Brian.
I'm getting confused. Like, when they say Midwest, I'm like, all right, like, okay, I'll give you Ohio, which I don't think Ohio's even Midwest. I'll give it to you, but it's like, I mean, like, literally, like, I can go to parts of New York and like put one foot in Ohio and then put one foot in New York. You know what I mean? It's like it touches. I'm pretty sure it touches New York in some spots, but it also touches Pennsylvania, and I mean, just it's I don't see it as the Midwest. And then Tennessee, I'm pretty sure that's part of the SEC football. So
I don't ask, man. I asked Brian, I'm like, why are we saying Midwest, dude? I was like, I don't even consider where I live Midwest, but for some reason it's considered that. I'm like, when I think anything west, it's west of the Mississippi River, right? Like, so like, maybe like Kansas or something that's Midwest.
But even like when they had like the tournament, when KBF had like the regional trail events, it's like the Ohio, that was part of the Northeast trail event. Like, I don't know, it just whatever. I'm not gonna tell people how to do it, but I'm like, it's not. I don't know. Tennessee is definitely a southern state, and that's where it's starting off. If everything goes right, if I get my boat, I might actually come down there and fish that one with you guys. But it just depends.
You just find a boat, man. Just come down there. If you don't even want to fish the tournament, just come down there. I'm not fishing the tournaments, so I thought about it, but I'm like, man, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and but it'd be a good time regardless. So, and we could see you get drunk and talk shit to everybody.
Well, Milford's going to be there for sure, right?
Yeah, so you can get drunk with Milford and laugh.
Well, I'm not getting drunk with him. I'm not drinking with him. That dude is insane. Like I shotgun beers, right? And like everyone's shotgunning beers with me. I started a movement, and he ruined that movement because it's like, well, if I don't stop this, someone might die. Because he drinks like a whole bottle of Goldschlager or something. I don't know, or Tennessee. What
he was drinking?
Some honey stuff.
Jack
Daniel's honey. Yeah, Jack Daniel's honey or whatever. Like, just chugs the whole thing. I'm like, that's not good. Like that, Jesus. But we might have just killed some guy on Instagram.
You should have seen him at Dale Hollow. It was quite the spectacle. So,
yeah. Well, I know. I mean, I'll look into it. I'm ready to fish, man. I just got to get this goddamn boat. And because the fishing industry was such a boom last year that we don't know. Like they say it's supposed to be here in April, but I don't know what that means. I mean, it's like it might be here in April is what you're saying, right? Because every time I call, like that's what the guys tell me at the kayak shop. It's like, that's all we know is that they said it's supposed to be here in April. So it's like, oh, we don't know when it's going to be here. So I'm worried. So I got to come up with a backup plan because my first tournament is like the last weekend of April. So I got to have a boat by then, but I'd like to have one before that because I'm like there's going to be some fishing going on in April. So I like to, get into it when that pre-spawn starts up here and, maybe get a PB or something. Jesus.
Right. Dude, everything's delayed. There was only a few companies that were ready, kind of, I don't want to say they were ready for it, but like Crescent, dude, they were shipping kayaks throughout the whole COVID thing when everybody else was kind of on hiatus in a sense. And at Loveland, dude, we were selling Crescents like it was our job. And what was cool is that was a great kayak company that came in right at the right time when everybody was getting stimulus checks, and it hit that lower price point of people wanting to sit on top, but necessarily aren't super into the whole fishing scene. But
right.
Yeah, dude. It's I'm waiting for mine too. So
I don't know. The clock's running. If I
right.
would have just bought the Hobie, I would have had it by now because no one can afford those. So.
You should have told me you were looking for. If I'd have known you were looking for a Old Town, we have them here. Like Strictly Sale, which is our Hobie dealer, also carries Feel Free in Old Town, and they had I don't know what they have now, but I know they had a couple Old Towns for a while.
Well, like if I wanted the 120, I could have got that, the Sportsman 120, because everyone still had them, but I want the big water, and like I guess like those sold out pretty quick, or they don't make a lot of those. Either because a lot of people, I don't know a lot of people that fish out of them. I know a lot of people that used to fish out the Predators or whatever, but a lot of people, they love that 120 pilot or whatever. And that's what most of them get. So and then I think a lot of places got too many of them, and they were kind of a little bit overstocked on those one, because who wants to pay, unless you're really into it, who wants to pay $3,500 for a kayak with a motor? You specifically got to want that. So there's a lot of those left around, but not the big water. So if you find one, let me know. Maybe I can get my money back from the or whatever. I don't know if you're allowed to do that, but get that back.
I'm gonna need that back. Like
we
can only give you store credit, sir.
Yeah, be able to get a paddle, I guess. But well, cool, man. It's Friday night. We all got better things to do. I appreciate you coming on. It's good to talk to you, man. It's been a while. I know you went through some shit last year or the end of last year, and you're slowly building yourself back up and getting to where you need to be. But glad to see you back on the podcast. Glad to see you getting a boat, and you'll be fishing again. And whatever. Life sucks sometimes, so we drive on. We figure out ways to shit happens. Really, like. I know I got 2 divorces, so I can't really say anything.
I mean, I got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and they keep me thoroughly entertained. And they love you, so they think you're the.
Oh my god, those little kids are the biggest jerks ever. Like I'm over there trying to change my life. I'm like trying to run, be healthy, and I videotape to show everyone how good I'm doing. And those little guys, they
Whoa, wait a minute. I don't know that you were showing how good you were doing. It kind of looked like you were more showing the struggles of running again. And you sounded like you were either going to have an asthma attack, or you were making an old Kung Fu movie. We weren't quite sure what was happening. But
well, I'm pretty sure kids mocked both. There was one doing karate moves, the other one acting like they were dying.
It was funny when I pulled that video up, and they weren't even paying attention to it. And they just hear this, God, damn, jeez. Like, and they're like, what are you watching? I'm like, come here, look at Josh trying to run. It's hilarious. And so they started mocking it. And I was like, I've got to videotape this and send it to Smith right now.
Yeah. Well, mine's here now. He's telling me it's time to go to bed.
Yeah. So
yeah. No. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. This will be up next week. But yeah, man, let's do it again sometime. I don't know. The season hasn't even started yet, so there's going to be tons to talk about here in the next few months or two.
All right. Well, how about this too, man? When you get that kayak, why don't you come and join us on the final cast, and we'll get your opinions on the big water.
Oh, that's I get to talk to Brad Hicks too, huh?
Well, you don't have to. We can kick him off.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Or you can make fun of him. So
yeah,
have a good one, dude.
Both are going to happen. All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right. See you.